there were people backdooring Beatstars because by default, the contract protects the producer. But someone can come in and backdoor that whole process. And Mike Trampy was talking a lot about that and saying, if anyone is approaching you on the Beatstars platform, trying to get you to sell your publishing, contact him. Peace, what's going down? It's DJ Payne 1. This is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. I'm with Dame Ritter and Aaron Knight, the home team, my co-host.
Payne's voice seems to be back. Congratulations.
A little bit. Well,
Yo.
let's clap next week when it's all the way back, because I still feel like I could sign it to Jada Kiss label so raspy right now. If it sticks around, I might start rapping and join what's his name, is it Millies, that rapper Jada Kiss signed. I'm playing off the raspiness. Let's move on from this joke.
Is that the white? That's the white dude with all the tattoos.
Yeah, he's dope.
Okay, yeah. So, Payne, I forgot to tell you, your boy Ke on the track was an ad before I watched the video on your channel.
Nice, always.
And not only that, but this time, at first, he basically, obviously has a course that he's selling, and to promote the course, he's telling people how you don't make money from streams. And then I clicked because I'm just interested in the cat at this point because we've talked about him so much on this podcast. So then I clicked through to his website, and it's like a course on how to get more streams. So I was like, I don't get it. Like you're first telling people you don't make money with streams, and then you click through to your course and it's how to get more streams. But all right, dude, it's hilarious.
Thank you for bringing this up. I haven't seen this ad, thankfully, but I just had this conversation last night with a friend, Memory actually, and we were talking about how the ignorance, specifically in the producer community, is exploited by ads. So what you'll have someone advertise a beat selling guide to you, right? But the way they'll advertise it is by saying beats don't sell. And then they'll turn around and say, here's how to sell beats, or type beats don't sell anymore. And then, they're advertising a course that teaches you how to sell type beats. It's just advertising. And I think, I don't know who's paying for this stuff. What producers aren't seeing through this scheme? I'm asking who please tell me.
I'm going to break this down for you. So, especially in the music industry, producers have the easiest entry point. That's no disrespect to y'all, but you could have absolutely zero skill and literally just download an iPhone app, and then you think you're a producer. And the reason I say this is because I do a decent amount of consulting calls, and a lot of people are like, man, I thought these beats were trash, but my homie said they were tight, so now I'm trying to sell them. Like, I recently had a call like that. Like this week had a call like that, So that one nudge is like, well, maybe I can get all this fame, fortune. And so now you're on the internet, you watch a couple of videos, and then somebody says, here's how to sell your beats. And you're like, man, I heard this homie's beats and they're not that good. And he sold a beat, so I could probably sell a beat. And now you have this entire internet of people who have no real skill or understanding of any business, just a really easy entry point and a ton of ads. So of course there is a plethora of mishaps to be had, but also an influx of people who think that they're suddenly talented enough to be a full-time producer.
But how do we reconcile the fact that these advertisements are contradicting themselves? I mean, is it just the whole there's a sucker born every minute idiom in action? Okay. Yeah. Because think about, I just feel like most mainstream advertising is a lot more nuanced in the sense that you're not going to turn on the TV and see a toothpaste ad where it says, it's impossible to whiten your teeth. Try Crest whitening strips to whiten your teeth. But you will see an advertisement on YouTube that says, KE waving his hands all around saying, you can't sell beats anymore, sweating and shit. I don't know why he's always sweating, but he's sweating. You can't sell beats the old way. Type beats are dead. Here are 5 type beats for you. How are you not putting 2 and 2 together when somebody is pulling their dick out, pissing on you and saying, oh my God, it's raining? it's like the oldest. I feel like I'm in bizarro world all the time when I see people getting lied to, and then they'll turn around and question something totally legitimate. They'll spend all their time questioning something totally legitimate because there's one little, misunderstanding. And we're going to talk about something similar like that today, Dame. But you have these people that are so resourceful and so intelligent that they'll break down something legitimate and find some conspiracy in it. However, there's someone right here that's spitting on their floor and saying, I don't know, that your ceiling must be leaking. And they're like, hey, the ceiling must be leaking. It's the weirdest thing. I don't want to be an elitist, but people are ignorant.
I think that they like to click on things that don't make sense because they just want to see. People like to think that they're smart, right? So I don't click on things like that because then I know all that ad traffic is going to come to me. So I've literally never watched one of those videos.
Except if it's on my channel, I'm getting paid off it. So thank you, Dave, for clicking the KE ad.
I don't click on those videos. So because I know it's a marketing ploy, because I work in marketing, I think a lot of people know it's a marketing ploy and they're like, but let me see what he's going to say, or let me see if I'm smarter. And then if they get sucked into just he's just got to say, he says a lot of things, I'm assuming, because again, I've never clicked on one of those videos. He just has to say one thing to trigger your thought process, like, well, $60, $100, $150. If he's right, that's the open door to my future. So like you put the barrier of entry just low enough for somebody to say, well, he's credible and he's saying this isn't the way and I want to do it. So it sounds crazy, but maybe that's just what I need to do because I've been doing the logical thing. It's really not. The marketing tactic isn't to be the most correct. It's really just to get you to doubt yourself. That's all it is. That's the Houdinis on the street. That's the guys doing the cup tricks. It's not about convincing you that they're right. It's that all you have to do is just sow a tiny seed of doubt in what you believe to be real or reality.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with that. And I think KE is amazing at both, causing people to doubt themselves and building up his own credibility.
But I mean, if you have listened to this podcast, hopefully you don't get fooled by this stuff because the ads, like once you have a certain amount of experience in the industry, like these ads are going to appear so ridiculous to you. Right. And then he'll have like these fake testimonials of like these random ass artists who say that they're now making tens of thousands of dollars and doing shows. I'm like, I promise you, this fool did not help these cats get shows. These cats are not doing, like getting shows is the hardest thing to do, right? Like getting streams, I'm not gonna say it's easy. Like it's hard to get up, traction to get streams, but getting shows is that next level, right? Getting somebody to stream your music is a lot easier than asking them to come to your show. So you're telling me that this fool has a course that in a short amount of time, not only gets you meaningful streams that amount to thousands of dollars, but you're also doing shows? Like, come on, man, this is ridiculous. So hopefully nobody, and if people in the MEC are spending money doing this, then you should just be donating to us for us doing the podcast. We should have our little PayPal link in the bottom because I promise you what we're doing is way more valuable than whatever is in this bullshit ass course that he's selling. So, Payne, put your PayPal link in the next episode.
If Payne doesn't put the PayPal link, you can join the Excellence Academy. It's cheaper than anything that KE is doing right now.
Or the regular academy that me and Payne host. Either one. Anyway, let's get to our real topics. We got a number of things we wanted to talk about. Lizzo was in the news yesterday. Apparently, there was a word in a song. The song is called Girls. I don't know how to it's like GRRRLS. But I'm assuming it's just, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it any other way if it is any other way, but I guess it's just Girls. There's a word
it's kind of like when Cardi B says like, okay, and she does the okay with the click. You can say girls and you can say it in very different ways, but you're saying it right.
Payne, you want to try to say it how it's supposed to be said?
No, because my voice is all messed up. I can't do anything high range.
That would be hilarious if you tried. Anyway, so there was a word in the original version. The word was spaz. And I guess there were some people that spoke out about that word being a controversial word, an offensive word to the people with disabilities. I have no idea. Did anybody know that spaz was controversial? Did anybody know that before this Lizzo thing? Either of you?
I've heard it been said before. Yes, that is controversial, but I'm just answering the question. So I'm saying, yes, I've heard it. That's been said before.
And I'll say no, I didn't, but more on that later.
There were some people on Twitter. One tweet was, "Hey Lizzo, please remove the word spaz from your new song because it's a slur and really offensive to the disabled community from a disappointed fan," wrote Shelby Lynch. "Hey Lizzo, my disability, cerebral palsy, is literally classified as spastic diplegia." I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Where spasticity refers to unending, painful tightness in my legs. Your new song makes me pretty angry, plus sad. Writer and disability advocate Hannah Deviney commented.
Can I say this? I just learned a new word, spasticity. That's a great word.
Yeah. So, I mean, we never know what really happens behind the scenes, but I think the label took advantage of this situation and probably encouraged Lizzo to release another version of the track, because these days a song with a story does way better than just a song, right? Like this, her changing the lyric and her being sensitive to this, I can say it's a positive thing if the word is offensive, and it seems like it is. I had no idea. Spaz has been in so many different songs, like rap lyrics.
Right.
And this is the first time I've ever heard of it, being offensive. But a song with a story does way better than just a song that comes out. As we've seen, like it was covered by People, USA Today.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous how many people covered this story. So from a marketing perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense. And it's something that is a pretty safe thing, because I don't think that many people knew that spaz was offensive, honestly. Like, it's not like the N-word, but even today, if people get caught saying the N-word, I feel like people do shit on purpose all the time just so they can have a wave of attention from what they did, and then a second wave of attention from an apology later on. Like the N-word didn't stop Justin Bieber's career, and he was going in.
And it should have.
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen, this dude is selling way more after being freaking racist, and apparently that's not his first time. So
I don't know who that is. Tell me who that is. Who's Morgan Wallen?
Morgan Wallen is a country singer. He literally was on like a lawn in Nashville yelling the N-word. And people were like, he's done it before. Sometimes it happens when he's drunk. He's not racist. He has Black friends. The whole thing. This happened in 2020, right? So they took him off the radio. His label dropped him, but obviously his music kept up. His catalog increased. He was already the top streaming country artist. I think they said his catalog increased by 122% sales. So then his whole album started charting. That's why I felt like when his label denounced him, it was really a marketing ploy, because they knew that if they did that, then people would rally around him. He was taken off of a few radio shows. He had to postpone his tour. But then when he came back 6 months later, he announced his tour had to add more dates because he sold out of even more. He's making exponentially more money now. So like, I know you were talking pain, but the reason that I didn't want to bring this up is because I feel like Black people are always held to hold America's shit. So like, Lizzo now has to be the responsible human. Lizzo is so inclusive to a point that I even get annoyed. I'm like, bitch, just do your thing. Like Lizzo is if we're looking at inclusive people in pop culture right now, Lizzo is so inclusive. And you can tell she really cares about people, fans. I've never heard a bad thing about her behind the scenes. So for me, if it's a marketing ploy, get your money, like shout out to Lizzo. I think she's probably coming from a good place, but behind the scenes, the label is getting the money. Like you said, they're pushing for it, because when I saw it on fucking CNN, I'm like, CNN? Do you know what I'm saying? If you just type Lizzo right now, that's what I did. I typed it this morning. There's so many articles about it. And again, this is no disrespect to the disabled community. So don't hear me like rallying behind slurs because Morgan Wallen got to do it. Lizzo should get to do it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that spaz has been used historically in Black culture for decades. I have been saying that shit since I was a kid. Like literally like, oh, I'm about to spaz on them. We're about to spaz out. Like that's the thing. I understand that sometimes origins of words can be misconstrued, just like it is inappropriate to say colored now, but that used to be the way that Black people referred to themselves. So I get that there's transience in words as well. However, my issue is that it seems like Black artists seem to be the only ones who really have to live with the consequences of their art. Case in point, Gunna and everybody, really rappers in general, but like all the stuff that's happening with Young Thug and Gunna right now, like we're paying the consequences. I could give you a myriad of examples of people who have more egregious things in their music. So for me, I hate this. I think it's ridiculous. I love that it's probably going to make Lizzo more money because she has a good heart behind it. But I feel like if we're just looking at the machine, this was like a very well constructed publicity stunt on the art on the team side. And again, not putting that on Lizzo and not even saying that she's completely devoid of the understanding. I just really feel like she genuinely cares. And they saw it as an opportunity like, yep, re-release the song, make it a story. Now everybody who's never heard Girls is about to go stream Girls.
So I just looked up a picture of Morgan Wallen and I'll admit that I'm stereotyping right now, but I can.
He looks racist.
I can see why his fans celebrated his use of the N-word. Obviously, and it's country. Like, and not all country fans are racist, but I could probably make a safe assumption that there are more racists that listen to country music than any other genre of music. Probably. Also, I want to blame this on the English language. So I get an email sent to me every day with a different word. I don't always read it. I don't always have time to read it, but I just get words sent to me just to try to increase my vocabulary, because my vocabulary is probably not as big as it should be at this point. And the English language has way too many words. And it has way too many words that mean completely different things. Like the same word can mean two completely different things. I just want to give you an example. So one day, flitch got sent to me. So flitch, F-L-I-T-C-H. Does anybody know what that means? Payne or Aaron, you know what flitch means?
Nope.
No idea.
So a flitch is a side of cured meat, like a side of bacon, or especially a side of bacon, or it could also be a longitudinal section of a log. Why? Why can a flitch be two separate things? I mean, then there's thousands of words like this in the English language that have very different meanings, but is the exact same word. So I'm going to blame this on the English language as well. We have way too many words. We probably have more words than any other language. I can't say that as a fact, but I'm just assuming that it is. English is a very difficult language to learn. And we have way too many words that mean the exact same or that mean different things, completely different things. So, yeah, but I think the moral of the story for our crowd is that a song with a story does way better than just a song. So if you can create a story around your song, if it can be bigger, something bigger than the song, your song will probably resonate with more people and obviously get more coverage from media.
What we are not saying is be intentionally offensive, because
Yes.
I know that shock value thing is what's running rampant on the internet right now. Don't be that. Don't be an asshole. You're not Lizzo. You're not going to recover from that. And also, who wants to be intentionally offensive? Like, don't be that person.
Yeah, that's not the only way to create a story. To be an asshole is not the only way to create a story. And if that is your only way to create a story, you're not very creative. And you are probably just an asshole. Um, so, so yeah, Payne, did you have any last words on the Lizzo thing, or should we move?
I mean, we all have the internet. We can look words up. To Aaron's point, I mean, because the second you even start going that route, you may want to unlearn a lot of words like moron, idiot, all these words that at one point were classification systems for people with mental disabilities. Lame. There are a lot of words out there, and I don't know. Some fly under the radar, some don't. It is what it is. I think Aaron said it best.
Like, okay, I just want to bring this. Like, why is it okay to call somebody a dumbass bitch in a song, but then suddenly, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like if Black people shouted about their offense as much in the media as everybody else, we would not have music. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if something is offensive to me, and I've said this before, I don't listen to it's like a lot of like popular hip hop. I don't listen to because it's disrespectful to women, especially Black women. So like, I just don't listen to it, but I'm not like starting a coalition. And I'm not saying that you can't rally behind what you really believe in, because I really believe in Black people. So I'm always super pro Black people, but I don't know. I just feel like this is a slippery slope. And I feel like the only people who actually have to ever make changes are the creators who really care, you know? And that's just a sad reality to me.
And I agree. I think it is. Oh God, I don't want to go down this path. Look, homophobia, for example. I'm just very briefly. I hear all the time, homophobia is rampant in the Black and Latino communities. Homophobia is tied to this. Homophobia is tied to that. And I'm like, I don't see it. I see it as a systemic thing. And you know damn well we as people of color don't have power in a systemic sense. So why is it that people of color get the brunt of the criticism and all of that is hoisted onto us as though like it's a creation of Black America or a creation of people from Mexico who legalized gay marriage way before we did at a federal level? Like to your point, Aaron, it doesn't add up. And it is frustrating. And then also I think it's frustrating because it distracts from, you know, the core intention of activism, because now we're playing like oppression Olympics when that just takes the focus off of making actual change. I hate it. Those are my final thoughts. They're not very good thoughts, but that's.
And I do want to note, like what you're saying, like, I don't want to be a white man in this sense, so to speak, where it's like, well, I'm not seeing it, because I'm with you. I agree. I feel like homophobia gets pushed off on the Black community. I do see I have experienced extreme homophobes, even in a city like Atlanta, which has like one of the biggest gay populations in the world, right? Per capita. So I have seen it and experienced it, and I'm like confused by it. But I will say that to me, that's more of an outlier than the norm. But I also don't want to be a white man in the sense to say that I don't see it because I'm not part of the community. You know, like, because I've told white friends about the type of racism I've experienced, and they're like, I had no idea, and we live in the same city. You know, so I don't want to be, I will say, like, I just want to make that, I don't want to be ableist and be like, well, I'm not saying people mistreat people with disabilities, because I don't want to be, what is the heterosexual form of that, where I'm just like, I don't see it because I'm not part of the community.
Yeah, heteronormative.
What did you say? Hetero what?
Heteronormative, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'm not PC enough to know all these terms, but I don't want to negate. I just want, when people walk away from this, I don't want them to be like, well, you don't experience it because you're not a part of the community. However, I do think that the way that we are, especially because we're in the music community, we're experiencing so many more communities outside of the silos that most people do. And I personally just feel like this is a dumbass point completely, respectfully.
Yeah, okay, and I agree with that. And when I said I don't see it, I'm not saying there's no homophobia across the board. There is. I don't like that it's being hoisted onto one particular population. But yeah, I'm straight and have always identified that way, and that is my experience, and so therefore I know it's limited. This podcast is taking a turn.
All right, well, let's just get to our next topic. So we had Southside recently did an interview on the Bootleg Kev podcast, and he was bashing BeatStars. He said that he had an example of a producer that was on BeatStars or producers on BeatStars, and I think he believes that when people sell beats on BeatStars, like you just lose all of your rights. So I think that's why he believes that BeatStars is not a good platform to sell your beats on. And obviously, being the COO of BeatStars and Payne using BeatStars forever, we just wanted to correct some of the things that, it doesn't seem like he's ever been on BeatStars. It seemed like he had just heard some stories about producers that were using BeatStars. And I don't think that, I know that it probably wasn't true. So Payne, when you sell beats on BeatStars, do you lose all your rights?
No, and in fact, the issue I've run into is that the default contracts give the producer a higher percentage of the publishing. I think full control of the publishing. So, I don't want to get into any sort of argument here, but let me show you what I'm talking about, because at very least we can show what we're speaking on to be true. So this was back 2 years ago on Reddit, where someone copied and pasted the stipulation on publishing from the default BeatStars contract, which says producers shall own, control, and administer 100% of the so-called publisher share of the underlying composition. So there it is. I mean, that's what it is. And I pulled up, I actually changed that to 50% in my contract, but by default it was 100. So it actually gave the producer more power in regards to publishing. And there was a whole debate about this. And, you can check that out on Reddit. But it's obviously a misunderstanding. And it's an unfortunate misunderstanding. But I just think all it takes is to look at the actual agreements, and that's kind of the end of the misunderstanding.
And also people should know that you can customize your contracts on BeatStars, right? Like you can go in and like you said, you made some changes to the default agreement. So I guess theoretically, if you were not smart, you can go in there and change it and give up all your rights. But I would encourage anybody that's serious on the BeatStars platform to understand the contract. If you want to amend the contract, you should work with a lawyer to do so. I probably wouldn't go in there and start changing the contract yourself. They'll probably have a lawyer maybe come up with some custom contracts so you know exactly what it means, what you're entitled to, and you can have that as the default contract on your profile, right? So just know that as a producer, as long as you use the default contract or work with a lawyer to create a custom contract, you should be safe and you'll retain rights. Obviously Southside, super successful producer. He operates not in the beat licensing world, right? So I just think it's foreign to him. It's a story that he was probably told, and maybe some things got lost in communication. But, he's super successful in landing major placements, platinum records galore. So it's not a world.
Well, and running one of the biggest producer collectives too.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about like this. I just know that what I know is that he's been in the game for a minute, super successful, tons of hit records. That's all I know. I don't know which records. I don't know the producer community like that yet. But it's obvious that he doesn't participate in the beat licensing world where there are other producers that are very successful on the platform. I would encourage producers to operate in both worlds. Like there's no reason there's no reason not to. You know, Payne, I know you have, you know, gold and platinum records, but you also have a successful business on Beatstars. To me, there's no reason not to operate in both worlds.
A lot of industry producers are coming over because, you know, we talk about a lot of the issues with placements and being an industry producer when it comes to, you know, payment scheduling and things of that nature. And a lot of people that were successful in the capital I industry have started, you know, licensing beats for any number of reasons, you know, whether it's because they want to control their financial destiny, they want to make their beats more accessible to unsigned artists, they want to find talent. There are people have their reasons, but I think it's a great compromise. I mean, I think Taylor Gang producers just en masse joined Beatstars. There was like a billboard and everything.
Yeah, so they came over. But I remember something you said on a prior podcast that I think is super important in terms of like better understanding the value of a particular song, giving you transparency into understanding that value. And I know that you've turned down some bigger a placement because of how successful your beat was on the Beatstars platform. So if you have a beat that's selling, let's just make up a number. Let's just say you're making $5,000 a month on one beat because it's, you know, it's a popular beat and people are licensing it left and right. And then a label comes to you and says, hey, we want to give you an advance of $5,000, but you've been making $5,000 a month for the past 8 months. Why would you license that beat? Or why would you sell that beat to this label unless it was a huge artist, right? And it was going to be a smash. So I think it's given producers more transparency and giving them more options to some of the beats that tend to take off on the Beatstars platform. And you can just be smarter about how you run your business.
But even then, and you're the CFO of Beatstars, make this interview happen. I want to talk to
COO, but yeah.
Oh, my bad. That sounds even cooler. I want to talk to the producer who made the Soulja Boy Make It Clap beat, because as far as I understand, that beat is still being licensed. So Soulja Boy used it. It was his most recent hit, I think, and it was a lease. It was a non-exclusive lease. I think that would be a fascinating interview, and I think it's just a fascinating fact that a lot of people don't understand, because I'm still in this situation where I talk to a lot of aspiring artists who are coming up. You know, that they're not yet at the level of getting hundreds of thousands or millions of streams, you know, getting looked at by labels, et cetera, going on tours, and they're weary of leasing because it's kind of like an ownership thing, a territorial thing. I think the concept of ownership when it comes to the music business is problematic because everyone wants to own, but nobody wants to be owned. And so if we're seeing examples of highly successful music that isn't necessarily owned, there's a shared ownership. Obviously, when you lease a beat, you own your song, but not the beat. You're sharing, and that gets complicated to people because they want to control it. And so to Southside's point, there are, and I don't know if you're up on all this stuff. Mike Trampy rants about this all the time, and Mike Trampy is the reason I'm on Beatstars. He is consistently warning producers not to give up their rights, and through him, a lot of producers have saved themselves from really ugly situations where somebody did come in and exploit them. We talked about that with Caleb Hearn. Remember how there are these predatory folks in the producer community that come in and not in the producer community, but that are targeting the producer community. They come in, they see your beat on Beatstars, and then they try to strike up a conversation with you and try to convince you to sell them, you know, all rights, which would entail master ownership and control of the underlying composition, aka publishing, which is what Southside was claiming you lose through BeatStars. So there were people backdooring BeatStars because by default the contract protects the producer, but someone can come in and backdoor that whole process. And Mike Trampy was talking a lot about that and saying, hey, if this happened to you, or if anyone is approaching you on the BeatStars platform trying to get you to sell your publishing, then contact him so he can, help rectify the situation. Because it is happening. It's not happening because the platform is allowing it to happen. It's happening because there are people that can finesse their way into. Again, it goes back to what we started the podcast with: people who just don't know, people who are ignorant, people who are, they love making beats, but they don't know the business. It sounds great. I'll give you $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for this beat, all in. And they don't even read the contract, or if they do, their eyes just glaze over because they don't understand the deal points. And next thing you know, they've just sold all their rights.
And so just to remind, so the Caleb Hearn situation, correct me if I'm wrong, Payne. So he had a song that was successful, and he got the beat. I'm not sure if he got it on BeatStars, but
I think so, yeah.
He might have got it on BeatStars. And what happened was this little shady cat from a label went directly to the producer and bought the beat after the song was out, like bought it like straight out, like bought the rights and everything, and then went back to Caleb and was saying like, hey, I actually own part of your song now. But that has nothing to do with BeatStars, right? Like that's why we're always pushing education, because despite platforms existing or default contracts existing, there are going to be shady people that try to take advantage of you. And that's why it's so important to learn the business, tap into our sessions, and make sure you're learning from people that actually know what they're talking about. I think it would be dope I know that Southside makes a shitload of money, but I think he can make a lot of money on BeatStars too. Like if Southside beats were on BeatStars, like
I was just about to say that even if he was putting them up for like $2,000, there's plenty of independent labels that would be hyped. Like I'm saying, there's thousands of artists who would pay $2, $3, $4,000 for a Southside beat just to have his beat. Do you know what I'm saying?
For a license, maybe because he on there. He also said that his beats now are 100,000.
I saw that and I was like, for a label,
yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I got producers charge a label price, they charge an independent price, and they have a BeatStars price. Everybody got that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like he got to figure it out. But if you're trying to charge the label price to BeatStars audience, you're missing out on your whole bag. You can make $100,000 off that same beat easily.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He can. I think it's worth. I don't know if he'd be open to the conversation, but somebody like Southside could kill it on BeatStars.
Southside, hit me up. I'll manage you on this situation. I know the COO of BeatStars. I can help you.
In a more general point, I think it's so important, that we are careful with our platforms. Anybody with a position of influence, you can really affect other people's livelihoods. You can destroy businesses, and just with your influence and the things that we say. I would always try to reiterate this to the artist. I know that the artist didn't really sign up to have this level of influence. Maybe that wasn't their goal. Like they just wanted to make music. But for better or worse, a lot of people look up to people with followers. Or successful people in the music industry. And I just think it's important for the people now that are listening that will eventually have a platform of influence. Don't take that lightly. Be careful with it. And hopefully you use it for good. Because a lot of people put a lot of trust in followers or people with big names. I think that's unfortunate that it happens in this country or around the world as well. But be careful with your platforms. It's you guys have more influence than you know.
Can I ask a question though to you, Payne? You can jump into another topic, but I do have a question because I know about, because you brought it up and it's something that I really wondered about, but the Soulja Boy beat, how does that type of contract work as a license? But it's literally, if I'm not mistaken, I know it's gone gold, but I think it's on the verge of going platinum, because it's like going crazy still. I saw him talking about it recently because, he took it on the Scream tour, all that. So how does that work business wise? I don't understand, because typically I've seen it happen before where it was originally a lease, the song started blowing up, then they went back to the producer. And that even happened, if I'm not mistaken, with Lil Nas X with Old Town Road. It was a lease. It started blowing up. You go back, you negotiate with the producer. Now it's an exclusive, but they get a percentage. You know what I'm saying? So can you explain the business? If I know you don't know the specific details, but I don't understand how it's still on BeatStars and how it's like becoming a platinum record. Is the producer still getting, I know he's getting paid on BeatStars now because everybody wants to do something on it, but I just want to understand that.
I imagine it's difficult because of the whole content ID thing. That to me would be the one, and that's just a YouTube. Well, no, it carries it over into TikTok and other.
And then there could even be issues on Spotify with the same beat too. Do you know what I'm saying?
There could, and that's why I hate the content ID system, because this is very clearly back in the day when it came to library music, it was just a general license. 5 different TV shows could use the same library music as a cue or a theme or whatever. But that was before the internet. That was before content ID, where everything's being monetized at all times. And so nowadays beats are kind of filling that space. And now it's a problem, but it's a problem because of the systems, not because of the people. And the people making the systems. We won't get into that because that's a can of worms, but I can imagine. So I've worked with bigger independent artists who wanted to buy beats outright, and I'm just like, these beats are way too popular. I wouldn't even feel right asking you for the amount of money that they're generating. So I mean, if you want me to be transparent, I will be, but you're going to think I'm lying. So let's just work something out, and it was just an unlimited license where I retain the ability to continue controlling whether or not that beat gets licensed to other people. But you have, basically all the same rights that you would if you had bought it exclusively, except I didn't sell you my master at all. So we negotiate that split, and it can be a so-called industry standard. I imagine with somebody like Soulja Boy, he's going to want, certainly not 50-50 on a master. He's going to want something closer to like 80-20, or even if, and I'm not encouraging this, but even if the producer agreed to something more traditional, like 4 points, which amounts to basically 4% with 4% of the master with kind of a messed up calculation formula. I don't even understand it. I'll be honest.
We got to talk about points one day, because it's still a never-ending journey.
Because it's not transparent, and recoupment is not transparent. I believe in recoupment, but it's as it is in practice, it's not transparent. So I can see, even if the producer agreed to that kind of deal like you would have with a major, it's still a good deal for that producer ultimately, because they still control that beat and they still own their portion of the creation. I think there are a million different ways, not a million, but there are 100 different ways that contract could have been written so that Soulja Boy still feels like he's controlling the record as much as he can, while the producer maintains his ownership of the beat. So I think people get caught up in traditional contracts to the point where they can't even picture any kind of deviation from that boilerplate so-called standard. And you can put anything in there. You can put anything in a contract. You know what I mean? So in this day and age, there's all this resistance to, the new ways of licensing music and profit sharing and all that. And there shouldn't be, because you can just it might feel different. It might feel strange, but there's nothing wrong with it. You can put whatever in that thing. So eventually I'm thinking this is going to become more normal, and we're not going to be so resistant and so reluctant to work out some of these more non-traditional licensing situations for even bigger records. But across the board, if DIY artists, major artists, people kind of in the middle, like Soulja Boy, I don't know what he probably has distribution from a pretty large independent, or even from a major. I'm not entirely sure what his situation is, but regardless, it became a hit. So we know that it's a different level than the average Lease.
So is the benefit to Soulja Boy that he didn't have to pay, I guess, like the upfront fee? Because if he's still if he did, like you said, like an 80-20 split, the control of the master only really now translates to Homeboy now still being able to sell it on Beatstars, which is dope because he's making the upfront fee now, essentially. Yeah. Plus he's making, and then I guess the benefit to the producer is that he's still getting that back end 20% of after recoupment. Well, 20% of the royalty split plus points or whatever. I guess I can see it now. I was just wondering, why wouldn't Soulja Boy want to just buy it outright? But I see if he could still get the same amount of ownership and then not have to outright buy it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He could do that.
He was probably forced into this situation because he released the song probably before the paperwork. I would imagine that's why he's in this predicament, right? And that gave the producer more leverage, right? So he took the song, released it. The song started doing well. And was like, oh shit, I don't own this beat. Let me circle back. So now the producer's like, hey, I own this beat. It's doing well on its own. I want to keep selling it on BeatStars. Because everything except for the content ID bullshit should be pretty easy, right? Like, so you could just say, all right, I'm going to give you 20% of the royalties on the master, 50-50 on the publishing. Boom, we're good to go. Like, until the content ID bullshit. The
content ID is a problem no matter what. And this is weird. I'll tell you something. This is very weird. But my biggest selling beat that's at over 2 million YouTube views right now, and that's just on my channel, it was a collab, so it's all over the place. That has actually been the least problematic in terms of content ID. I don't know why. I really can't explain it. But a beat that only has, 2,000 to 5,000 views on my YouTube channel is the one where I'm getting, 5, 10 claims against. And, rappers are emailing me, what's this? How do we fix this? It's a mystery to me. I don't understand it. So maybe with this situation, it's not as bad as we think with content ID.
And what you just said is so insightful. I honestly feel like the producer probably didn't even tell him I prefer to keep selling on BeatStars. The producer probably saw it blowing up and was like, I need $50,000 for this beat. And you see how Soulja Boy feels about paying for beats. He probably was like, screw it. It's just going to be a lease. I mean, the label or whoever on his team is probably like, we should have paid the 50 racks or the 100 racks, whatever, because this kid is racking up on all. He's getting 3 sides now, hopefully. I hope they didn't take advantage of him. I hope he's getting the publishing, the master, and the BeatStars stuff. I hope it's not that he's just forced into trying to promote it on BeatStars. I would love to know who he is. I hope he has some guidance. I hope somebody's showing him how to spend his money properly right now and save his money, because it's like the song is hot right now, but he's got probably another 8 to 15 month period to where, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but I think this is dope. I would.
Well, he was already a top seller on BeatStars. It's Phantom. He was already a top seller.
But he knows what he's doing.
I think so. He has 2 YouTube channels, and if you take the average, each of them has over 100,000 subscribers.
What's his name? Who is it?
Successful.
Phantom, Phantom, and the beat that and it's from a year ago. The beat, it's still getting, wow, look at this. It's still blowing up. It's at 7.7 million on YouTube. So there's no way it's not generating a lot of money for him still. And so even if the contract, and I'm not saying it was, even if the contract with Soulja Boy wasn't all that favorable and he's getting a very small percentage, he's making up for it on the Beatstars side. And I tend to look at that as, it's not necessarily right, but a lot of us are compromising. I think this is probably one of the greatest compromises in the history of beat selling.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can get him. I'm sure Trampy knows him.
And here's something else amazing. He must have gotten whitelisted too, because I'm looking, when someone files content ID against you, like if I say I have a beat on YouTube, right? And I sell it to a major label, but I keep the beat up on my YouTube channel, what's going to happen is the label is going to file a claim against me, and they're going to monetize my video because now they own that beat. And so underneath the description in the on the YouTube video, it'll say claimed by, Universal Music Group or whatever the label is. When I look at the original beat to the Soulja Boy song is called Whistle by Phantom. It's on the Phantom XXX channel. When I look at his video, there is no content ID claim. So he is not only monetizing those 7.7 million views coming in on his YouTube channel, but he's also still leasing the beat.
Y'all got to do this Phantom interview. I want to hear about this dude. He knows what he's doing. This is dope.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to change. If more of this happens, it's going to change the landscape of the music business in a really profound way. And especially I'd say equally for producers and for rappers, because, think about it. You have a hit song that you pay the least price for. And from that point on, you're still operating as the person who, if you have label interest, they're still making the majority of it. Whatever deal the rapper has with the label, or even if they're independent and they have some kind of major distribution, they're making the majority of the money still, and they paid damn near nothing. So you think, well, the producer got the short end of the stick, but the producer is making their own money independently over here on Beatstars. So it's really a win-win for everybody. Do I think we're going to see more of this? Probably, because if it happens once, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, maybe we can. I don't know if there's already been a conversation around it or where he's based, but that would be an interesting conversation for sure. All right, we can wrap up this one, Payne. I think I'm happy with this session.
All right, cool. So next week, more controversial hot takes on the MEC podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. Join the Excellence Academy. Shout out to Dame. He doesn't have anything to market right now, but what I'll say is Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are making beats live with your loops. So if you want to submit loops, go to beatstars.world, or there's another website too, but right now you can check out BeatStars opportunities and submit to Looped. You can submit 3 loops a week. We have celebrity producers from Taylor Gang, for example. Sometimes I'm going to be doing it. We had Ransom last week. He made 2 beats in an hour. Ricky P made 3 beats in 2 hours. It was amazing. That's every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.beatstars.live. But if you want me to text you every time we go live, because a lot of people forget we have busy lives, Dame, let them know how to do that.
All you need to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. You'll get all our updates. I love how Payne was like, yeah, shout out to Dame. He don't got shit going on, but so he doesn't have anything to market.
Well, you're the COO. You have a lot going on. You just can't monetize that.
I'm trying to think. I want to plug something too. I'm trying to think. What can I talk about that this audience would want? We're actually working on a lot of stuff with the comedy stuff, but I don't know if people that listen to this care about that. But yeah, just tap into all the Beatstars, the new live stream shows. You know, Pain is one of the shows, but we have a few other shows. The Rap Cipher. People need to jump in this Rap Cipher. There's $10,000 up for grabs, and people are bailing. Like they're not even showing up. So you could participate in this, potentially get $10,000, and the person you're going up against might not even show up. So you might advance to the next round just because people aren't showing up. It's weird. It's weird to me. Like when we used to ask people to rap, we used to get floods of people that would gladly rap. But I don't know what's going on. We got to figure out how to get more rappers involved. But yeah, I think the rap.
What are the details on that? How can they sign up for that?
You got to go to beatstars.world. And I believe the sign up process is there. It's under opportunities, but Beatstars has a lot of opportunities. That's just one of many. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe there's too much shit going on that page and people not realizing.
Check those out though as much as possible, and check out your dashboard too, because matter of fact, I'm going to do that when this podcast is over, because there will be, I almost missed this. Thankfully, I don't know who it was that we were talking about playlists together. There was like a Rick Ross playlist opportunity. I'm like, God, if I miss this, I jump out a window.
Yeah, there's playlist opportunities, there's placement opportunities, there's all kinds of stuff we're doing with Pigeons and Planes. I think that is actually the problem though. There's when you go to that page, it's not clear on. There's just too much. There's too much. But if you go to beatstars.world, click on opportunities. And you should find the various shows, and you can submit to, because we also have a beat battle. The beat battle, the prize is $10,000 as well. I don't think we've had as much of a problem getting people to submit beats, but yeah, tap in. There's a lot of opportunities out there.
All right, appreciate you tuning in. We will catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
Yo.